What's poppin', y'all? Welcome back to another episode of NBA Weekly. I'm your host, Peeweedaplug, the number one Knicks fan in the world. And in today's episode, we have to talk about the James Harden debut. Before we dive into that, I do want to say if you are new to this channel and you enjoy this type of content on a consistent basis, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you're familiar with me and you've been here before, make sure you hit that like button. I do want to remind you guys that every time we hit 1,000 likes on a video, I'll be dropping a poll and allowing you guys to vote for the type of content that you want to see. Now, Philadelphia 76ers. Fans of the Philadelphia 76ers, I must admit, as a Knicks fan, I am jealous and I'm envious of you. I think this is how a debut should look. James Harden and the Philadelphia 76ers looked incredible tonight. Though it was the Timberwolves on a back-to-back, the Timberwolves have been respectable this year, and a win is a win. 31-point win, first and foremost, dominant. This is a rejuvenation, I feel like. And this is a game that I think puts everybody on notice. This is the most talked about thing right now on Twitter. The Philadelphia 70 fans are popping their shit. We got net fans already trying to talk shit and kind of whiny or whatever. I don't know why, because it's just one game. But this is the type of reaction that you want to see as a Philadelphia 76er fan. Embiid, still dominant, 34-10, the MVP level of basketball that we've seen all year long. Tyrese Maxey played some of his best basketball and looked immaculate next to Embiid and Harden. We got James Harden flirting with a triple-double out of the gate. You couldn't write a better night for them. They shot 50% as a team overall from the field, 48% from three, almost 50% from three. They got to the free throw line 36 times, if I'm not mistaken. Again, the Timberwolves, first game, back-to-back night for them. But still, I don't want to overreact, but I want to overreact just a little bit. If this is the version of James Harden that the Philadelphia 76ers are going to get on a consistent basis, I think the league needs to be put on notice. I was a guy that was skeptical of the trade and the move just because I wasn't sure of how accepting James Harden would be of being the second guy. This is the first time in a very long time where James Harden won't be the actual go-to guy. And for me, his exit in Brooklyn was a little weird just because I thought he was going there with his homies. I thought he was still being put in a role that fit him when he was able to be the point guard, control the basketball. But for some reason, it wasn't working out. And I thought maybe in my mind, it was because James Harden wasn't legitimately the guy. This was Kevin Durant and Kyrie's team. They came first. They, built this up, and now they're bringing you into the fold. So that kind of was a head scratcher to me. So I'm like, if being a second, third option and not being quote unquote the guy is a problem, then I don't know what's going to change in Philadelphia, because that's Joel Embiid's team. And I was super critical of that. I also was critical of how James Harden has played basketball for the last decade, or how I've seen him play, which is super pick and roll heavy. Everybody stands and watches. When he doesn't have the ball, there's a lack of engagement. And I just didn't want to see Joel Embiid, who's having this phenomenal, historic MVP level season, all of a sudden kind of be a screen setter for the James Harden show. But man, Joel Embiid is loving it. He says it's the most open he's ever been in his entire career. And anytime you can have Joel Embiid be open, not even open, I think open is a bit too much to ask for, but anytime you can allow Joel Embiid to have one-on-one looks throughout the course of a game, man, you're setting yourself up for a lot of success. I think Joel Embiid is a guy who needs to be doubled and triple teamed at times. So for him to have open and one-on-one looks, you're putting yourself in a good situation. I will say, not to rain on the parade, not to be that guy, not to be negative, because I do support Philadelphia. I support the 76ers. I'm a fan of the process. I've supported them with Joel and Ben, and I've always rooted for them to win, just because I love what Sam Hinkie did. And Philadelphia is a great city. I've been to Philadelphia, blue collar. I love the environment, so I'm always rooting for Philly from a distance. But this is game one. I do have to say it. It is game one, and his team and his move was put in place for them to compete at a championship level. So I can't judge and throw a parade after one opening game for them. This is going to be something that they're going to have to keep up on a consistent basis, especially come playoff time, where the basketball is played a little bit more differently in a 7-game series. And the way the East is looking is going to be a dogfight. You know what I mean? When I look at the standings and I see Chicago, I see Boston creeping up. I know the Nets are going to get healthy at full strength at some point. The Miami Heat are flying under the radar, but it's just as good as anybody. Philadelphia themselves. There's a lot going on out there in the Eastern Conference. The Bucks, the reigning champs. So in order for them to get to where they want to go, they're going to have to be consistent on an every night basis. James Harden is going to have to continue to be engaged with and without the basketball. He's going to have to buy in to certain nights where it ain't about him. Joel Embiid is just the most dominant player on the floor. We're going to run through Embiid, and that's just going to be the way it is. Tobias Harris is going to have to find a way to insert himself. He was one of the guys tonight who didn't have the best night. He was one of the few guys on Philadelphia that did struggle. I think he shot like 2 for 9, had about 6 points. Again, it's one game, but I know throughout the course of the rest of the season and the playoffs, Tobias Harris kind of getting in where he fits in is going to be tough because James Harden is going to have the basketball. When James Harden doesn't have the basketball, you can expect it to be in Joel Embiid's hands to take advantage of the triple and double teams that come with that. And the way Tyrese Maxey has played, and the way he can play off of James Harden and Joel Embiid, that's another guy that could get in the way of Tobias Harris. And if there's anything I've seen with the history of Tobias Harris, specifically with the Philadelphia 76ers, it's that rhythm is a big thing for him. And they're going to need him to be able to knock down shots, especially in catch-and-shoot situations with the loss of Seth Curry. We know Matisse Thybulle isn't the most ideal shooter, so they're going to need all of the outside perimeter shooting that they can get. And I hope that Tobias Harris finds a way to gather and get into a rhythm in a lesser role, I would say, because over the tenure with the Sixers, or specifically the last couple of years after the Jimmy Butler, JJ Redick, it was him, Ben, and Joel. And Ben Simmons not being the shot creator for himself, it allows Tobias Harris to kind of be the second option on a lot of nights. Even when Ben Simmons was hurt in the bubble, you had last year where he struggled. Tobias Harris was able to kind of get any shot he kind of wanted throughout the offense. And now that you're adding Tyrese Maxey to the plate, James Harden accounts for damn near 2 players because he can get 25 shots out on any given night. Even when he isn't shooting the basketball, he's controlling the rock. Joel Embiid is playing an MVP level, so he's getting more touches. It's going to be very interesting to see how they work Tobias Harris in the mix and allow him to get a rhythm, because though he's not one of the top 2, James Harden or Embiid, his presence is going to be extremely important for them. As I say it again, the loss of Seth Curry is going to be very big. I think a lot of teams underrate Seth Curry and what he brings to the table. It's just outside shooting on a paper, but that outside shooting is so key, especially when it comes playoff time. The ball slows down. We get into more half-court offense. That outside shot plays a big part, and even the gravity that it causes from coming down pin screens, double staggers, flares. All of that is a big setup, especially when you have the dynamic of Joel Embiid and James Harden and what their pick and roll gravity can create. Just to imagine them still having Seth Curry would be a nightmare for teams in the East. Overall, I'm excited. I'm electrified. I love the reaction that the Philadelphia 76ers fans are having. I like that this is creating shock waves and shock value throughout the NBA atmosphere. I like that the Brooklyn Nets fans are feeling a way and they're starting to whine. And I'm hoping that the Brooklyn Nets players, Ben Simmons included, are getting a whiff of it. And I hope that it's motivating them to get back on the court quicker and faster so they can be able to make a statement and they can start to get rolling. And I hope that March 10th lives up to the hype of creating some rivalry that we all are brewing and waiting for. So I give them an A+ on a debut. James Harden knows how to debut. He did the same thing in Brooklyn last year when he had a 30-point triple-double. This is that same type of feeling. And like I said, as long as they keep James Harden engaged and consistent, with his engagement on and off the ball. We saw some off the ball plays tonight, which is just incredible. They're going to be a scary, scary team, and that's how I'll wrap it up. I think it's super intriguing how James Harden just has this switch that he can hit at any given time. We've seen him in Brooklyn over the last couple of games he played, or last couple of weeks where he was just not engaged. There's specific clips that you see on the internet all the time circulating. The Detroit Pistons is the most specific one, when the ball was rolling and he just kind of didn't care. And now for him to flip that switch and he goes and he looks like he's out of shape. And in the first game back, he got a six-pack. His beard is shiny. He's hooping. He's playing off the ball. He's creating plays. The team comes in. They shooting 50% all of a sudden. 36 free throw attempts. Everything just goes perfect. So Philadelphia, I'm happy for you. Like I said again, I'm jealous. I'm envious as a Knicks fan. And just as a fan in general, I think this is exactly what every fan of every fan base wants to see in a debut after they just acquired a star player. And I'm buckling up because the playoffs is going to be a wild ride. Brooklyn, I hope y'all get healthy, and I hope y'all come ready on March 10th, because Philadelphia is ready for war. That may have been not the best thing to say in this video. But appreciate all of you guys as always. This is NBA Weekly. I am Peeweedaplug. Much love, much peace, and happiness to everybody. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. As always, I will see you guys next time. I'm out. Peace.